Good morning and welcome to Dualitea Podcast. I am your host, Ash, and I am here with a very special guest, Lori Love.
Hey,
Welcome,
morning,
welcome.
everyone.
Thank you for being on this podcast as many times as you have been.
Thank you for having me and wanting to hear what I gotta say all the
Of
time.
course. Yeah, no, it's always a great time having you on here. And I was reflecting this morning. I was thinking, I was like, I know you've been on a lot, but I don't think you've been on since I've been doing clips.
I haven't.
Right. Because we don't have any clips with you yet.
I actually asked you to chop one up for me, so now you can
Yeah.
with some new.
I'm pretty sure I did. I just never posted it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
But it's all right. We'll have some fresh content.
Nice. Hopefully, I sound good and I know what I'm talking about.
You always do. Even when you don't, you do. That's why we're here.
That part.
That's how true it is. You heard that, bull? Oh, so yeah, before we even get into it, I'm feeling like you down to play these bowls?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's open it.
So for anybody who's open to hearing the vibration of these sound bowls, feel free to be with us. And, you could set your intention just to give you a little bit of understanding about what we're doing here. Sound is frequency. Frequency a vibration, it comes from every instrument. This is just an ancient type of instrument. It's made with crystal quartz. You set your intention when you're playing it for whatever you're trying to kind of push forward or release, in this particular moment. We have the bowl that's attuned to solar plexus, which is our center of our confidence. It's the center of our belief system, our childlike qualities, things of that sort. And we have throat chakra, which is all about expression, all about how we speak to ourselves and others, and also how we express. So it's not only just like through our voice, but it's through other kind of creative endeavors as well. These two are tied together to me, they're both 3 in, right? So 3 from the bottom, 3 from the top. And they just showed up like that. So we're going to play them with the intention of just like feeling confident in the things that we need to say, feeling confident in the things that we need to say to ourselves, feeling confident in the things that we need to say in general, and if that resonates with you, receive that. I feel like I don't know what to do with that. All right, I'll turn like that. Okay. What do you have?
Sounds so good.
Right. I'm like, it's
It
really
has
been a
been
minute.
a little too long, if I'm being honest.
Right.
Okay.
Now we know. Well, we've been known, but now it's just.
Now we made it happen.
Right.
What's going on over there?
I don't know. I feel like things just be happening in life.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to figure it out as it comes. And I feel like as long as I'm just like chill about it, I usually figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm
That's how it
not,
happened.
I still figure it out just in a more manic way, if at all. Takes a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
But, getting into the topic of cleaning up our side of the street, right? You just did and are doing literally today and Sunday,
Sunday.
community cleanup, and thank you for doing that, first of all. For you to have thought this idea and then took the time to make it a reality in also not that long of a time. Like, I know you've been thinking about doing them on and off for a long time, but like from the time that you said like I'm gonna do a community cleanup to you doing 17 community cleanups in a month, like that was a short period.
It felt manic. It felt manic too. So I kind of identify
for good cause.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. Sometimes that energy is like, I feel like, that manic energy. There's a whole podcast on it too, like where we're talking about it in that moment. Like, it's not always negative. Like, of course, sometimes when it's impulsive, it can lead to not the most optimal decision making. But sometimes I find that when what we correlate with maybe mania or like, I'm using that lightly, not like, in the way of feeling like this move to do something strongly.
Yeah.
Right.
Feeling just that force, like
feeling
gotta
that,
get it done.
Right. Right. It's like I find that a lot of times, like, in who's to say that that's not, creator speaking through us in that way, and we're like, oh, we're excited, we feel that beam of the electricity, we're like, I need to do it now, and then it's also like we're human, so it's sometimes we like take it and blow it up a little bit, right? But the fact that you did that and you felt that and you got it done and you're getting it done and you're still making time to come here and speak on things, first of all, just thank you for being here.
I appreciate
and
that.
for showing up for not only the community, not only a friend, but showing up for yourself. That's not something that everyone always has the capacity to do, and I feel like we deserve to be acknowledged in those moments too. And so with that being said, we're talking today about more of the metaphorical streets that we're cleaning, right? Like our own. There's that metaphor, that saying, like, clean up your own side of the street, right? So in other words, like, make sure that you have the accountability and like the things, like you're aware of the things that you need to have in order before, whether it's stepping into something romantically, something business wise, friendship wise, whatever. Like, even if it's for yourself, like, just like, I'm not going to buy this other thing until I make sure that I don't have another version of that or clean something out about it, how, like, I know that when we were talking about doing a podcast, the first thing that came to mind was like, like, clean your shit up. Like, so how do we tie those things together? When we're talking about the external and then the internal, like, how do you tie those things together for yourself?
I think that everything, and not just this topic, any topic can be applied in different ways. Our last combo was Life 101 and how it can be applied in so many different ways. So I feel like that's just, that's the way I like to look at things, is that things sometimes can have like an alternative meaning, or can mean something different to everybody. I feel like when this came up, when you asked me to be back on the pod, I was in the start of this project, and even though I said it directed to a more tangible aspect, like actually clean your garbage up, clean your shit up, in that also moment, I was dealing with a lot of energy baggage and kind of coming across people that wasn't taking accountability for the energy trash they were leaving around. And it was like, yo, clean your stuff up, clean your literal space and clean your space within you.
Right.
And yeah, people don't think about that enough, that, what they're carrying through the day is kind of transmuting onto their surroundings and the people that are around them. So that was like really like a thing that happens often. It's not just didn't happen on that day during that phone call. It happens all the time, and we have to constantly remind ourselves, like, okay, check. I need to check myself. I'm having a bad day, but does that mean I have to make everybody else have a bad day? No,
that is so true. And like, literally with what you were saying, with how the energy of your own energy can transmute onto other things throughout your day. Like, I'm just like getting reminded of You know, when people come into your car and you're with them, maybe for a little bit, maybe for a long time, and they leave stuff in your car, you know, like whether it's a water bottle, food, whatever the
Happens
case
all the
is.
time.
That's like a pet peeve of mine, you know, unless it's consensual. Like, hey, do you mind throwing this out for me? You know, I know sometimes like we're in our heads and we're not realizing it. So I'm not like coming at anyone in particular. It's all of y'all actually. So if
She's
it's,
talking to you.
it's not just one person, it's many of you, and I love you guys. But clean up your shit, right? Because like it's triggering as fuck when I'm like, listen, I don't need help in the water bottle in the passenger seat floor department. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just got a car little trash and I'm trying to keep it like a thing, right? But it's just like it's something as simple as that. I asked myself one time, I'm like, why does this get me so insane? Because I got so annoyed after like I had a friend of mine like go into the car, wasn't even for a long time. They left like a few things, and I was just like, what the? All right, you know, and you know, I'm like, why is this bothering me? And I'm like, well, it feels like what you said, like when you're not aware of your own stuff,
You're leaving your energy here.
you're leaving your stuff here.
And especially talking non-consensual energy exchange. Like,
Right.
I don't want that.
Right.
Hold that. Keep that over there. Take it with you when you go. That's cool.
Right. And it's like, listen, I get it. Like, my sister always says every time I come into her apartment, I leave something. So I get there's a certain level of like when you feel comfortable and things like that. Like most of the times it's my slippers because my nieces wear them and then I don't know where they are. But a lot of other times it's been other stuff, just like whatever. So I get it. Like I'm a human. I do this too. But there's something about the car. There's something about like you looked at it right when you closed the door.
You still left it.
Right.
So now that became my responsibility.
Now it's my responsibility. Exactly. That's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
It's like now I feel like there's this thing that maybe it's in the shape of a water bottle. Maybe it's full. Maybe it's empty. Maybe it's your food that you ate. You know, that's the worst for me. Like
Food?
Food that you had already ate and you didn't ask me to throw out. Like, cause like now I'm the garbage disposal right now. You know what I'm saying? So so yeah, cause I'm sensitive with smells. So it's like once I'm done eating something, I don't want to smell it. I don't want to know it existed near me, even if I love it. Like, and I like unless with the exception of like a garlic buttery aromatic situation. You know what I mean? Like that can chill for a little bit longer. But anything else, like I get very sensitive. And you usually think about it. If you eat in the car, it's usually just on some like random food, maybe a fast food, maybe like a sandwich, maybe something that smells strong. Anyway, I digress. Essentially, like it's just the point that you made. I just have had so many instances where I'm like, why am I this upset about something that's really not that big of a deal? And I think that it's because it superficially doesn't seem like a big deal. As a person who's like hypersensitive and whether I want to or not just feels deeply into everything even when I'm not trying to, I feel like that could be me picking up on something that they left behind. You know, it's like if you have the capacity to be unmindful in that way, where especially when it's consistent, not just like, oh, okay, once in a while, like you can feel the difference in that. You know what I mean? If you came into my car and you dropped something, I wouldn't feel that because you are every time like you're even like, you want me to grab your garbage? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have a bag. You need garbage bags? I got those too. You know what you need? You know, and it would feel different, but like, it's like, what else are you unaware of? What else are you moving through life? Putting your imprint on and not being aware of the effect, you know, and
that was big right there. That was big, and that goes towards mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and tangible, the physical. When people aren't aware of themselves, that's dangerous. That's reckless, potentially reckless,
right?
Because you're just blissfully or aimlessly, mindlessly going through life, just shedding shit. Excuse my language, just shedding this garbage, energy and trash, literal. So it's that's really irresponsible, and that part is a pet peeve of mine. And like you said, we're all human. We all have those moments where I forget. Sometimes I'll forget something somewhere. Sometimes I'll forget that my energy will transfer to my children. If I had a bad day out at work or at an event, and I come home, I'm not like the human in me may forget in that moment, but it's important to just recalibrate and reevaluate and just remind yourself, like, oh snap, hold up. This energy that I'm bringing in doesn't need to be transferred to the next person. I don't need to leave this mess here. I can take accountability for what's going on. I could say, okay, I'm having a bad day. I need my space to unpack the mental trash I got going on in my head. Or I leave something in your car. I'm sorry. Yo, sis, my bad. I left something. Take care of that for me, or I'll come pick it up, or whatever. Just, it's okay to make those errors, but it's how you
acknowledge them.
It's how you acknowledge them and the response afterwards. Like, be a decent human and take accountability for yourself and correct the issue.
I find that people, and it's people of all ages, like, because it's like one could look at a child and see, like, when they're experimenting with starting to, like, learn how to lie and learn how to, like, kids, like, they're learning how to human. So in a very innocent way, they learn what limits to push. And I find that you see it often in children, but it shows up pretty often in adults too. It just looks like ghosting or not acknowledging once again, because it's like, when you say to a kid, like, did you do this? And they don't say nothing, and it's like, adults, you might not be saying, did you do this? Sometimes you are saying, did you do this? But sometimes you're not. And they're just like fully aware, looking you in the face and not saying it because of whatever fears or insecurities that they're having going on through with their experience. And that's valid to have those insecurities and feelings. But like, it would encourage people to, even speak on it when it feels uncomfortable, because it's like, you don't know how much just speaking on something can provide relief for the experience for all parties involved, because things can get built and things can, built upon on ideologies and concepts. And now, like, my brain's shifting into a different space which just like a recent experience for me, where it's like, because of not having a lot to go off of, my brain was like, bet. I will build a city now of ideas. Because why? My brain has been hardwired to create probabilities in order to find an efficient way to plan things before they happen so that they can be safe. It's really anxiety coded. It's really, trauma coded. Survival mode. Exactly. And it's like, becoming more aware and becoming more intimate with that process is making me realize, like, oh, like, this is a superpower, but it's a deficiency too. Like, we need to, like, be aware when what is showing up where, and then, like, moving through that and then realizing how far off I let my mind take me, because, your intuition can be correct on something. And I say this often. It's like, from my experience and from, peers around me experience, when it comes to, like, whether you call it spirit, God, your intuition, whatever you call it, consciousness, like, speaking through you, right? Or speaking to you, like, how do you hear it? And it's like, for me, when it's like spirit speaking to me, it's very like, open the door, walk through it, simple things, like, almost caveman like
rudimentary,
right?
Like, very, very simple.
Look at like this simple, like, you know what I mean? The moment it becomes
you're human,
my brain,
yes,
it's like, well, if my eye itches this way, it's because I'm stressed, and if I'm stressed on my left side, then that means that the left side is the receiving side, which is the feminine side of my body, and that's how that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, literally, it doesn't stop. So it's like, what am I now ready to receive? And all of a sudden, it's like you just scratched your eye, girl.
Like, take a breath,
right? Like it doesn't have to be that deep, although it can be. But it's just like, we're infinitely having a communication with the atmosphere around us, within us, everything that we're saying and doing, down to the vibration, to the physical, to the atomic, is communicating with each other. So yes, even as simple as, if we want to get a little existential, like as simple as, yeah, scratching your eye could have a deeper meaning. But is that deeper meaning going to actually, like, are you even going to be able to receive that in this moment? Or is that way too far? And are you using that as an escapism from what's actually happening in the moment of, like your surroundings, rather than like trying to internalize and making it a solely you experience? You know, because I find that there's so many different things when it comes to cleaning up our side of the street, right? Holding ourselves accountable. We talk often as humans about, you know, people escaping to doom scroll, escaping to be with people, to interact with people, to go party and stuff like that. But what about escaping in isolation? What about when one escapes through almost like blaming themselves for everything? You know, because like I'm intimate with that experience, you know, where it's like, when does the shadow work become literal, like self deprivation, you know, in of just like a wholeness experience? You know, it's okay to deprive to a degree. You know, people go into tanks and stuff like that all the time to not have any sensory experience, to be in your own being, right? Which I love and strongly recommend. But to deprive yourself of just literally giving balance to the fact that yes, you're having an experience, and so are other people around you, when you're trying to take accountability for everyone's shit in the process of you cleaning up your own shit, it's really hard not to hate yourself. It's really hard not to not fuck with you. You know, it's not like a simple thing. And I find that that's something that kind of doesn't get touched on as much, because it's much easier. I mean, I find it easier too, to be like, oh, look at you going outside yourself. But what about the people that are going way too inside themselves? You know?
How do you find that balance then between the two? I know we're all still learning. It's all, the journey is just, it's not linear. It's not like you have all the answers, but like, how do you find that balance between those moments where you want to take accountability for yourself, you want to go inward and not take on accountability for everyone? That's where I'm at right now. Like, it literally in my physical, that's where I'm at, where I'm taking so much accountability for all of these zip codes in the tangible. But it feels like what we were talking about the other day, where even though I'm picking up literal garbage, like I have the community activated to pick up literal garbage, it's still energy that I'm picking up and I'm keeping within like my confounds, my van, my physical space. How do you have that boundary? Like, still, like, I still want to do good in the community. I still want to activate and help people see where they can take accountability and where they can make a difference. But how do I separate the two?
Well, you know, I find
while still being in the two.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is like just identifying where you begin and everything ends. And like at that same token, like I find that, you know, even just what you were saying with picking up garbage, literally, once again, it's like coming back to the car conversation. It's like a lot of times the reason garbage is on the street is out of people's unmindfulness, right? With the exception of winds, with the exception of you put it in the garbage, but it's been windy. Okay, we'll give that. But
some space, some grace.
Give a little space and grace. But a lot of times, you know, it's unfortunately people just not valuing the earth and not valuing the surroundings. And, you know, usually those people, it's just a reflection of what's going on within themselves, which is like not valuing themselves and their internal, you know, surroundings and things like that. And that just being reflected in the action. So now you're picking that up, literally, figuratively.
Yeah.
And I think just like anything else, knowing why you're doing that, you know, and then just like cleaning, like just like you would after you know, you touched a bunch of stuff, like you clean up, like, and you remind yourself why you're doing it. And you remind yourself that that's not yours. You know, it's not yours to bear. It wasn't even necessarily yours to clean up, but you are looking at it in the space of like, it is because this is like our earth. And like in that way, it is because of your morality, because of the morality of the scope in what you're looking at. You're like, yeah, well, no, that's it. That, like, I was by Bertha the other day, and I seen like one of like the pre-roll tubes like right in front of the car, and I looked at it, and I was like in a rush too, and I looked at it, and I was like, I don't really want to touch that. I don't really want to pick that up. Like, I don't even have gloves and nothing. And it just like looked like gross, And I was just like, nah, I'm going to get it. I can't unknow it. I seen it. I'm not going to leave it there now. Like, I know it. Earth knows I know it. Plastic tube knows I know it. You know what I mean? Like, everybody, it was just like, all right. So awareness is had. So I took it and I put it in front of my house. And later on, I threw it in the garbage when I had the chance.
That part's important for me. You took initiative, which is why I named that project Initiative. You just was like, all right, it's there. I know it's there. I just got to do it. I just got to go for it.
Right.
And that is, I feel really important with taking accountability and taking it, again, whether it be tangible or whether it be internal, taking that first step to just do something. Whether it's a small step as far as picking up something or taking one task off of the to-do list, just starting somewhere and taking that initiative to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important. A lot of people don't do that. They may have the thought. They may know, I know, Earth knows, but they still won't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather not move through life with just like guilt of knowing we all knew and had awareness in that moment, whether it's an inhabited object or like a living planet. And it's like the dialogue in my head. I'm just like, nah, I gotta do it. I've always felt like that. Like I think I've tried to suppress that when I was younger, but like, it's a good and a bad thing. I'm sure you can relate to this because I find like we're similar in that way, where it's just like the moment I have awareness, now there's a timer that starts going off for action and change.
Yeah.
Right, like, and when I pause it, it feels like I pause it, and that feels almost like the circulation is leaving my body, almost like pins and needles, because I know what needs to be done. It could be as simple as picking up that tube, or it could be as serious as like leaving a job or a situation or whatever, it's like but as soon as I have that awareness, like I can't unknow. I try real hard.
That's why they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, but is it, right? Because then you're living with half awareness.
Exactly.
Like no awareness of things, and then like I don't even know, like it's like with the red pill, blue pill, like people say all the time. I can't imagine, as much as it hurts to see shit as it is, I can't imagine looking at it any other way. It's like choosing not to wear glasses when you don't have the best eyesight. I take my glasses off sometimes. I'm socially awkward. Don't look at me. I don't want to be looked at. Right. I'm going to take my glasses off because you're looking at me. Now I feel better because I don't see your face. Right. But I'm going to put them back on when I need to get to where I need to go next. Like it's okay to take breaks. It's also not great to always use glasses, to always see things, to always be paying attention to everything. How can you function if you're constantly paying attention to everything? How can you function to what is like, happening how can you be present if you're constantly trying to compute what's happening next? It's just, it's another form of anxiety at that point.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're so obsessed with figuring out what's going to happen next. It's just another escapism from the moment, from the here and now. And you can miss exactly what is going to take you to where you're trying to go, to what you're obsessed with happening in the future. You can actually miss in the moment because you're not present, really. And I think that when it comes to like, not to be all Eckhart Tolle, like power of now about everything, but it's like, really, I mean, everything is in the present. Everything is in the moment. It's like every time you're sitting there and you're like allowing, okay, this is a moment for words. This is a moment for silence. You know, I'm not sure what I'm going to say next. Like, am I going to take a pause, or am I going to, like, remember? You know, it's like every moment that we're deciding to make a decision, even if that decision is to do nothing, can give us access to what's happening in the present moment. And that just being like, it's like, it's so fucking simple, but we make it so
complex. Why does our human brain and our human flesh just want to make everything so complex when it really can be a little more simple?
I think that, you know, I don't know if you're asking that rhetorically, but
kind
I feel
of,
like,
yeah, I want to hear what you but also it is like for viewers and the guests to sit with that. Like, why do we have to make things so complex? Sometimes it is, though. Sometimes it is. But most of the time, like you said, if it's coming from a higher place, whether you believe in God, universe, creator, or even just you, like your better self, it's going to be as simple as open the door and walk through it. It's not going to be, no, take a right, left turn, go backwards 10 steps. And that it's not going to be that. But our brain sure will try to play tricks on us to make us feel like it is that complicated.
Even the most complicated things usually can be boiled down to the most simple reason, you know. No matter what, our brain is constantly trying to go against polarity, you know, duality, right? And it's like consistently, in order to function, it finds momentum and force off of going off of a contrary. And, you know, that's something that I'm studying even right now in school, where it's like, you know, with homeopathy, it's like curing like. So it's finding something that's similar to something to cure something that's like it, right? Where we're so used to going the opposite, you know, allopathy, going against it. Like, well, if this is doing this, then if this is inflamed, we need anti-inflammatory. Like, these are just like naturally what's ingrained in our brain for so long. Like, I think we make everything complicated because also, like, if it was simplified, it could be less chaotic. Like, it could be chaotic, but it could be less controllable. You know, why would anybody want that? You know? So it's just like, you know, but I found that the most complex emotions that I've had in my complex traumatic ass brain at times, it's usually just boiled down to like, didn't feel like enough, felt alone, didn't feel seen, didn't feel heard. Like, it could look like a lot of things, but like boiling it down kind of usually comes from that. Just like the general, like, human raw emotions, you know, needs that aren't being met. What are the unmet needs, you know? And when it comes to, I know for myself right now, I'm doing a lot of cleaning up my own side of the street and taking that self-inquiry with like my pros and my cons. Not to like dissect myself, but just to have a dialogue with myself, because it's not like I'm not aware of these things. I just want to put them in front of me. So I'm in the process of doing that while I'm also like getting rid of stuff. You know, it helps me with that, because it's like, well, if this is what I like about myself, this is what I'm good at. That's what I don't like about myself. This is what I'm not so good at. Like, how can we make space to balance these things out when they're starting to get imbalanced, you know? But how about you?
That's like a loaded, how about you? Like, what?
Well, I mean, how about you in the sense of like, because I meant to say it to you before, like what, how did you word it to me before? What is the way that you...
Well, I was asking for myself, because I don't know. I'm still struggling with that. The question that I asked you before, like, how do you kind of like have that?
Oh, the barrier and the barricade.
Yeah, that was the last question I kind of asked, and I don't know.
I was more talking about the complexity part, but like the making the simple and the complex part. But in the regards to like, well, the fact that you have, I just want to give space to this. The fact that you have the awareness of the fact that you feel like you can be making a better barricade more is all the answer you need, really, because you have awareness of it. So literally it's just doing whatever that looks like, whether that's like, if you didn't have awareness of it, you wouldn't have asked that question, right? So what's the answer? Like, I mean, for you, I feel like the answer is just acknowledging the fact that that's a super valid question to have and awareness to have, and literally just doing what you need, whether that's wiping yourself off, whether that's smudging yourself after, or whether that when you are going to go to your cleanup, you set an intention and a prayer and have a conversation with Creator and the environment, and be like, may I be protected, and may my energy remain my energy. And if I feel anything that's off, like, just keep me safe and protected from it. And like, I find that there's so many times, and prayer is so important, and prayer is such a tool in so many ways, because after a certain point, when you start, I mean, I'm queen of not knowing in the past what was mine and someone else's. But the growth I've experienced in that, where I instantly know when something's not mine anymore. Depends in certain case scenarios. If someone's close to me, it can get a little wonky still. But like, for the most part, if I'm in a space, I'm like, that is not mine. It's still hard to not villainize it when it's not mine, right? I'm human, still learning. But like, you just feel it's not yours, And then when you identify that, it's like, exactly. Even if it's just shaking it off, like dusting your shoulders off, whatever you got to do. Like, these simple things make a world of a difference. Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, I agree. Felt, like I said, it's just sometimes you have to remind yourself of these things, of these rudimentary, simple. It could be so simple because you just have to remind your brain will make it more than what it needs to be. So just reminding myself of what you just said. Accountability is the first step, is that awareness, like what's that phrase? Like, the first step is acceptance.
Accepting, yeah.
Right? Is knowing, is that awareness. And that's like the hardest part. So I feel like once you got that, next step is doing something about it, or setting those steps to do something about it.
Right.
It's just taking those small tangible steps. So that's, I just literally saying out loud to remind myself of that. Because it's hard to forget. It's hard to get caught. It's easy, actually. It's easy to forget. It's easy to get caught up in your daily obligations and your daily routine and all the things that you got going on in your mind. So just taking the time to sit with yourself and to remind yourself of these things, it's always a good thing. It's self-care, and it's like, it's should be a routine to check in with yourself in those ways. Like, hold up, what do I need to change? What worked for me yesterday is not going to work today. So let's toss this out and let's implement this new routine or this new tool, this new way of thinking. I wish more people were like that. It's very easy to just avoid.
And to get a buildup of things that aren't even yours. It's like, it's like, think about when you're driving your car and you're going through everything and you're getting a buildup of dirt and bugs dying on your windshield and, other shit from the street. No, I stopped thinking of the ideas left, the building. But yeah, like, when you're just continuously building up, like, you realizing, like, well, that's on the outside of this car. Now, when you're looking at the inside of the car and things are building up, you're like, oh, this is my shit.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff on the outside is not my shit. Like, that's just environmental, driving through a puddle, hitting there. But like, when you're looking inside of your car, like, that is your stuff. Like, that is your accumulation. I like to look at things like that because I always say, like, when I have to change my oil, I almost have to always change my oil, like, for me. Right. And like, whatever that looks like, pour into my cup, like, recharge, whether that's like get an energetic treatment, go float in a room pod, whatever they're called, you know, not the pods because I don't really like the pods, but the other one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's
some kind of self-care.
Some kind of self-care. Exactly.
Yourself.
Like
Yeah.
some kind of, you know, something. And it's like there's signs all around us when we need to pour into ourselves. But are we listening? Are we paying attention? You know, when our like I keep on saying car because I find like specifically like if like most people, whether unless you live alone, if you don't live alone, and you have a car, like that's your indicator more so. Like when you live with other people, now it's how do you 100% know what is yours and what's not, because like you're constantly interacting with other people and like yes you can have an idea but it's still kind of like skewed, you know, because it's more blended. When you have one space, whether it's your office, whether it's your car, whatever it is, you look at that environment, you're able to tell where you're at. You know, they say like, oh, like your room signifies like your mind, but like at the same token, if you share a room with somebody, it's not just your mind, you know? So that's why you got to separate that and give space. Like if you are with like other spaces, where do you occupy the space the most alone? And if you need some kind of inquiry of where you're at, give that a look. Like give that a look of what that is, you know? So it's the same thing, you know. I like it's a little thing too. Like even when it's gas, like I do my best to never let my car like hit the gas light coming on. But almost every time the gas light comes on, my gas light is on. Like I'm about to like crash and burn. Like I'm burnt the fuck out. Like if I get to that point like that, I didn't even consider putting gas in until the moment where I'm about to like not have it. Like that's because for myself, I'm doing the same exact thing. You know, it's just that reflection. So then, okay, cool. Now you got the awareness. What do you do about it?
That's it. That's the part. That's the ticket right there. What do you do about it?
What do you do about it?
Try to take steps when I can. Sometimes it's not always I know we all can relate to not putting gas when we should have. And then the next morning, oh, I'll get gas in the morning. I'll get gas in the morning. And then the next morning, it's chaos. You're late. Now you just added an extra 10, 15 minutes onto your lateness. So it's like just... I don't know, with everything else, it's grace and accountability. It's just finding that line between the both. Some days I'm not going to get the gas. Some days I'm going to be running late. Have grace with myself those days. But then also keep in mind those days, how I felt when I didn't take that accountability. That kind of fuels me to maybe, all right, maybe I got to get gas now and not wait till tomorrow. So it's like finding that balance. Some days better than others. Some days I'm a rock star. I've finished everything on my to-do list for that day. And other days I'm not.
Well, that's that's a spectrum of being a human. And I think that the more that we lean into stepping away, country, but like the more that we accept that, you know, perfectionism and identify what perfectionism is, and that it's not the status quo of just like how we are to be. Like we're going to do it wrong. That's how you learn how to do it right. But if you continue to do it wrong with no regards or awareness of anything, then you're a fucking problem. You need to figure that shit the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, but you know what I mean? Like if you just make a mistake, like, and also it's like, once again, even with that, there's grace, you know, because like clearly if someone's in that state where it's like they continue to make the same exact mistake over and over again, and I'm not talking about like, you know, I'm talking more like superficial stuff. Like there's something deeper happening, you know, there's something deeper happening. If like that is, and yes, you know, the grace does deserve to be there, but the person also needs to be willing. And either that dynamic can look different for everybody. 'Cause it's like either you're going to, you know, be there as like a support system for when that person needs. But if they're actively choosing to not do that, like you're also not required to be the support system for somebody who's actively not choosing themselves. If they're actively not choosing themselves, how could they ever choose you?
They're not considering themselves. They'll never consider anything else.
Yeah. Like it's like if you're not your own friend, how can you be a friend to somebody else? Like I think that's important to watch how that happens. I used to take that shit really personally.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my God, like what's wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me that, like, this person is like, I feel like everybody has an experience like this where you have a friend who like goes above and beyond for like randos, like people who like don't do like, I mean, maybe they're obviously doing something for them, but it doesn't mean that it's good, right? And like you're a person who like maybe you know them for a long time, maybe you didn't know for whatever the case is, but like you show up for them in a certain way. And beyond like the breadcrumbing of maybe them showing up for you like that throughout time and space, it's not consistent. And then like it's hard to not internalize that process and be like, well, what is wrong with me? Like, why you show up to this person that you just met? Like, they're everything. They're every single thing that they do. You're there. And like, why, like the thing I need you, or the thing I wanted you, the thing that was so important to me, you're always flaking or copping out in some one way or shape or form. And, of course, it still bothers me at times, but, like, I'm in a different place with it now where I'm, like, I know that that's not a me thing, and I'm not putting my worth on the way other people cope. Because a lot of times those people do that because there's, like, some kind of, they're getting some kind of reward, and maybe you're just not in the same space as somebody. Sometimes we have friends, and we love them, we want to spend, like, time with them and stuff like that, but, like, sometimes people just aren't on the same wave. Maybe they drink a lot and you don't. And like when they're around you, they have to question why they drink a lot because you're not also drinking with them. You know what I'm saying? So like now they're like, even though you're not saying anything about them drinking, you existing is saying something about that behavior and that pattern. And then that gets kind of put on you. And yeah, it's personal in a way, but it's not in another. And it's like the more that you clean up your side of the street, the more you realize how other people tend and keep their streets. And it's like, well, if I'm out here a part of the community cleanup committee, like, what do I look like hanging out at a dumpster without cleaning?
Yeah.
Because then at that point, even hanging out with somebody is going against your function. Your function is to help clean up the street. And this person just wants to collect garbage and throw it everywhere. And you're going to be looked at if you try to clean that up. And you're going to be looked at if you are okay with that existing. So now you have the dissonance of that. And we're not talking about garbage no more.
Yeah.
So I find that like just making the right space was right. Just making any space for ourselves to just accept the shit we already know. The awareness that we have, I think we skip trying to accept things because we feel if we accept it, then we have to change things. And if we change things, that they might fall out into not the best outcomes, which is already playing chess and you're already 4 steps ahead and you just got in that process. Like, for all you know, you're over there like planning on how you're going to check the king, and you just got the queen just came over and ate your whole situation up because you were 5 steps ahead, instead of being in the moment,
paying attention to right in front of you right now.
That's why chess is a fucking good game. We gotta play. For real. I feel like you'll be really good at it.
I've played it before. I have to sit down.
I'll do the whole refresher with you. I'll be happy to. It'll be so good. It'll be so good. No, but for real, because like when you play chess with people, you really like see how people navigate life. Like that's like a whole saying for a reason, because it's decision making and critical thinking in a place where things have roles. Where else does that exist in a 3-dimensional realm? Life, like literally. So yeah, cleaning up our side of the streets, man. Just doing what we got to do to keep the community together, whether that's fueling our community in the best way we can starts with ourselves. It starts with, keeping our front yard, front house nice, like you don't keep garbage everywhere and do things everywhere. It affects the way your environment and how you present yourself and bring yourself into spaces whether you like it or not, it affects other people around you. So wouldn't you want to be the part that influences for better than accepts worse? You know. But yeah, I feel like that's what I got. You got anything else?
Not when you put me on the spot.
I'm sorry. I won't look at you. I was just drinking the tea. It's really good.
I feel like it is really good. First of all, I'll sip the tea on that.
Shout out to Yopo tea. No, not Yopo. It's Yalpan. Yalpan tea, I think.
I feel like we touched on a good amount of what I wanted to talk about. I feel like it can be applied in so many ways. And however you listening right now take it is how you need to take it. Just listen to yourself. Give yourself that grace to know yourself and to take accountability and to take action with that accountability, because just knowing is not enough. You have to like do the things. And then you also have to give yourself grace and space if you don't do the things. Because there's tomorrow, too. You could do the things tomorrow. You could pick up where you left off. So,
and even if you don't do the things right, like you already put a step into doing the things you're trying, you know? And I think that that's also how we can show up and support as community. Is like when you see somebody do something and maybe they didn't do it the best, but like, you know, offering that support of like, well, thank you for doing it. Like, this is how I do it. It makes it go easier for me. Maybe you'll find the way like that too. But giving the support first, like we're so quick to be critical. We're so quick to be like, you didn't fucking do this right. And what's wrong with you? And then that person might never do that again. Like, you know, you could call them sensitive, you call them whatever, but like, you don't know how many times that person might have had that experience in their life where that was just the straw that broke the camel's back, and maybe they're going to be recluse for the next month. Is that your responsibility? No. But what is your responsibility is your response and your reaction. You know, and I'm very guilty of this too. Like when it comes to just like, you know, like being like the fuck, like, and keeping the fuck energy instead of like, you know, the first reaction just being, you know, all right, an attempt was made, you know, like, you know, it's there's balance. And
that's me. I'm quick to be like, okay, they tried, you know, oh, they tried, but also there needs to be balance and boundaries there too.
Right.
Because some accountability should be, you know, like with my kids, for example, I'm not always going to be so hypercritical if they're not doing something right, but then am I really doing them a service to continue to be like, oh, you're doing a great job, but you're not really doing a great job. And then they just continue with that same standard because they had
they're not being challenged.
You know, they're not being challenged, or they're not being well informed to know like that you're doing okay. The effort is there, but you're not doing the best you could. So I
think even saying things like that makes a difference, because I know as a child, like that was what made the most impact. Like, I remember, like, hearing the multiple sides where it's like, you're not doing good enough. This is not good. That made me not want to do anything. Yeah. You know, that made me shut down. But then hearing, like, I know you can do better. I see it. Like, you're getting there. Like, you're on your way. Like, keep trying. Like, that motivational where it's like you're, like, in the middle of the incline. Where it's like you're being seen for what you're trying, and you know, because you know yourself when you're not doing it all right. And then you're like, you know what? Let me turn this shit up. Like, you know, I'm thinking about playing soccer specifically. That's why I did that action. But like, you know, it's like, you know what? Like, I can fucking run faster, you know. And then I was like the fastest person on my team, literally after that. Like after that conversation I had with my father, like I was like afraid to be the fastest person on my team because I didn't want to be isolated or like looked at and like more paid attention to. And he's like, I know you can run faster than this. And I was like, you're right. Like, and it's just like those things, because like, but if he did not say that to me in that way, and if he was like, you know, said in a different way, I would have never known that I was the fastest person, or maybe I would have known, but I just would have held it in. And now I'm suppressing a part of myself. That's so important when you're saying that with children. I think is optimal, because like we're setting the standard, whether you have children or you're around children. Like, you know, like I'm a proud tia. Like, I'm very in my tia era right now. And like,
cool auntie.
right. And like, you know, I called my nieces. I haven't seen them in a week. I was like, where are you guys? Love you. Like, how was your day? What has been going on? Like, they're like, Tia Lou, let me tell you. They were running around the whole house because, you know, kids, when they're on the video chat and they're like, just like running everywhere, like losing breath.
Chaos.
Absolutely. But yeah, like I think about that too, because it's like, of course, you look at these beautiful babies and you're not like, you don't want to tell them anything, but like, you're amazing. You want them to feel confident and good in everything, you know, but you can't give them the confidence in that way. Like, they have to develop the confidence in the ways we invoke it within them. Like, because we can offer, here's my confidence I have in you. But if they don't believe it, that's just
Words.
confidence and right here. It's just words right in front of them. You know, but to actually set that stage up, like you're saying, like, you could do it. But I remember saying to my niece the other day, because she's obsessed with doing cartwheels right now. And like, she was doing cartwheels and like, literally, like, she did like a few of them where it was kind of like, what's going on? Like, like, are you good? Like, slow down. And I literally said to her, I was like, take a second. I'm like, because you're not doing the cartwheels as good as you were doing them in the beginning because you're rushing. You're doing them too fast. I'm like, take a second, breathe, and then get back to it. And I'm sure you're going to do so much better. And she took that second. She like
and
took
did
that
what
moment.
she needed to do with that.
Yeah, and she did, and she literally did like a one-handed cartwheel after that, and then she did like 15 cartwheels in a row back to back, and I was just like, look at you, you know what I mean? And I think that with ourselves and others, cleaning up our side of the street and holding that accountability, because like what makes us not want to do that? Usually, our own fear. Usually, our needs not being met, and we're the ones trying to carve out tools, and we're not really sure what the shape is. We know what the function's supposed to be, but we don't know what the shape is. So we're just trying to, okay, like, does this work? Okay, no. Does this work? Okay, this is a little better, you know. So there's also the grace in that with our interactions, whether it's with children or other people, when we're learning how to have that grace too, because it's like, just talking about where we're at and like our having clear communication is really the most beautiful thing that you can offer anybody.
Yep.
Yourself, any interaction, any space, whether it's uncomfortable or not. It's true. And I find that's when changes happen. Like, when you just are able to talk about it and just be like, oh, that's what that is.
There's too much chaos and confusion in being vague. Like, I hate, that's one of my pet peeves, is vagueness. So just being direct about what you want, what you need, what's needed in the situation, or your boundaries. Like, there's no wrong way to go. Like, yes, it may be uncomfortable. Yes, there may be a little bit of turmoil you have to get through to get on the other side, but so much less if you're vague about something,
right,
where there's just confusion and now we're both not on the same page. And
there's so much room for misunderstanding.
So much room for error when you're not clear about what you need or what's going to happen. So, yeah. Definitely on the same page with that.
Yeah, because if I'm like, yo, Lori, can you make me a flyer? And you're like, yeah, I'll make you a flyer. And in my head, I'm like, it's for the podcast, but I didn't tell you that. And five weeks ago, we talked about doing a bowl meet, and now you made me a bowl meet flyer. Why? I'm like, is it your fault? Is it your fault? No, it's my fault. All right, because I was not specific. Right. But then you got those same people. It's like then you got the same people that are like, you're so particular. Everything you say has to be so specific.
I love the particular. I love the
particular
specific. Too. Be specific. Tell me exactly what you want and how.
Right.
And when.
I say this all the time when I worked at Starbucks and people would order those mad long, like, laundry lists of a drink. As long as they were nice when they did it, it was never a problem for me. It would like, especially would always be somebody who's like, I'm sorry, like, da, 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 da. Like, you know, I'm just like, I'm lactose and that's why I have it like that. I'm like, girl, you don't gotta tell me nothing. Like, besides just be nice to me. Like, in fact, you might get it for free. I don't know. Who knows? Things might not get charged, like allegedly. No, but it's like it's just you never know what you can actually get, and then in contrary, like it's a person who's like shows me a TikTok reel that's moving and is like,
I want this, and then they hate their drink.
Right? And I'm like, and it's like some shit that's like 17 ingredients, and the Cosmo Wanda fucking pink drink matcha foam. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, that's crazy. And it's the entitlement when doing it. Cleaning up your side of the street makes you more informed of how you're moving in life and how you're being received. So if you have anxiety of how you're being perceived, which most of us do, whether you're aware or in denial of it or not.
Times. Social media times.
Absolutely.
We're all self-aware and like
100%. And like, oh my God, am I being perceived? Someone's looking at me and like misinterpreting my intention. Like, of course. Like, you're live. You're probably in those feelings. Like, people like, I don't give a fuck. Da, da, da. It's just those same people. Why are you deleting all your pictures on your Instagram every 5 minutes? Why you got one picture on your Instagram and then you got like 17 another day? Like, if you didn't care, you cared so much you didn't even delete it. You archived it. I'm not coming at your life. I was saying that. But I didn't even realize that you did that because you're such a transparent person. I feel like that's like that does not apply to you.
Sometimes I'll go and I'll look at my page and I'll be like, I don't resonate with this picture of me right now or this caption, so I'm just gonna shelf it.
Right. I feel like that's fine. You know what I mean?
I feel not her trying to smooth it over.
No, because I feel like that's fine. I feel like it's more so the type of people that be like in the caption, like, you know, fuck love, trust nobody. Like, you know what I mean? And then it'd be like.
But they actually love and they want to trust everybody.
They want a reason to trust somebody. Yeah. You know, and it's just like, just be honest. Like, you know.
Just be honest, take accountability, and then take action as you see fit, however that applies. That's what cleaning up your side of the street means to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your perspective and your views. And I love you. I value you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being you and for doing all the things that you do on and off the screen, because you are absolutely an asset, not only to the community, but just to everybody that you meet, genuinely.
Thank you.
By just you being you. Nonetheless, when you're doing stuff for people, because you do a lot for a lot of people, but you just existing in a room is more than enough.
Same, sis.
Appreciate you.
I love you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. This is like the 4th anniversary or something like that. Lori love, y'all. Lori love. Well, I have an announcement also to make to you guys. So I'm trying to get more consistent with the pod. I was getting more consistent with my life and like prioritizing that naturally. Now that I have more of a consistent schedule and things like that, I want to create a more consistent schedule with you guys. So Duality Podcast is going to air every Wednesday at the end of the month. So every last Wednesday of the month. So now you can anticipate the next one that's coming. So it's not just like random, hey, like I'm doing this tomorrow, even though I did post it last night. Now you know for next month. You know what I'm saying? And the month after that.
We love that. We love consistency.
And moving forward, like, you know, if I can add more days, I will. But that's where I'm at right now. That's what I can do. That's my capacity. Take me as I am or don't. So thank y'all for listening. And yeah, see you next time. See you next month.
Bye.
Bye.